Thanks for tuning in and welcome to the Sports News on CW57, your home for local high school, collegiate, and semi-pro sports. I'm Janet Crescent, sitting in for Ryan Ashaker. This week we'll be talking high school football with head coaches from Madison Memorial and Sauk Prairie. We'll also catch up with the Middleton High School swim team and check in with McFarland High School cross-country coaches. It's the Sports News, brought to you in part by the Red Zone. Now, as Ryan would say, let's get you off the bench and into the game. Here are your headlines. Former Packers coach Lindy Infantes passed away at the age of 75 after dealing with a lengthy illness. Infante was a head coach in the league for 6 seasons, spending time with the Green Bay Packers and Indianapolis Colts. He was named NFL Coach of the Year following the 1989 season with Green Bay, but only made the playoffs once when his Colts lost in the wildcard game to Pittsburgh in 1996. The Packers organization hailed the Infantes for their presence in the community, and Packers president Mark Murphy also credited the Infante-led team of 1989 with rekindling the enthusiasm in the Green Bay fan base following that 10-6 season. One of the worst-kept secrets in Madison sports has finally been released. After 15 years with Adidas, a UW Regents Business and Finance Committee approved an agreement that will switch the Badger Athletics apparel to Under Armour. Initial reports suggested that Under Armour would outfit and equip all 23 Badger teams and pay the university's athletic department $4 million cash in the first year, along with the $3.3 million in uniforms, shoes, and equipment. In comparison, the UW received a maximum of $800,000 cash and only $1.4 million in apparel in each year of the current contract with Adidas. UW Athletic Director Barry Alvarez has finally announced that this new 10-year deal with Under Armour, worth $96 million. Under Armour will become the official outfitter of the Badgers starting July 1st of 2016. And speaking of the Badgers, after a prior disheartening loss to Iowa, the UW Badger football team was determined to show their resilience over the weekend in Lincoln, Nebraska against the Cornhuskers. And although they didn't win any points for style, they managed to take the win with a field goal in the last 4 seconds of the game. The final score was 23-21, and they'll be keeping the newly created Freedom Trophy for a second year. Incidentally, UW Athletic Director Barry Alvarez played linebacker for the Cornhuskers 1996 to 1968 and is known to say that much of his philosophy during his coaching years with UW was based upon the foundation he had starting at Nebraska. And finally, in NFL news, the NFL could be expanding the replay procedures in a positive way. The league has announced that testing will begin at MetLife Stadium with a goal line and sideline cameras to provide multiple games of data for the NFL to evaluate. For up to 12 games this season, the so-called boundary camera system will be in place with views across the goal line, back of the end zone, and sideline in order to aid officials during replay. After the season, the information will be passed on to the owners and the competition committee members for a vote should they decide to move forward with it. CW57 is your home for local high school football action all season long. Join me, Ryan Ashaker, Rich Reynolds, and the rest of the CW sports crew as we head over to Verona to cover the Wildcats as they take on the Madison Memorial Spartans in the Cheese Bowl. That game will air right here on CW57, Saturday at 4 and Sunday at 1:30. We'll be right back with more sports news right after this. Thanks for tuning in to the Sports News. Our first guest and returning back to the program is head football coach from Sauk Prairie, Scott Merkus. Scott, thanks for stopping by, giving us a few minutes today.
It's great to be here again.
All right, so as we head into the end of your regular season, what sort of improvements have you seen in your guys since the first week of practice?
Well, I think, anytime you come into a new program and try to establish some different things that have been done there in the past, it's an adjustment period. But our guys have learned how to compete in practice, and they're used to a routine now and developing skills. We still have a long way to go in that respect, but we've really learned the last 3 or 4 weeks to put together a complete game on a Friday night, and that bodes well going into the off season.
Good, all right. Well, and speaking of your season, your last game is this Friday with Mount Horeb Barneveld. A win would be really great for your postseason hopes, and so what are some keys into playing a good game?
Well, certainly Mount Horeb Barneveld presents numerous problems. They're a complete team, and Max Myler at quarterback, certainly he's going to be a Division I player at some point in his future. So they run an up-tempo, high-powered offense, and we're going to need to be great defensively to slow them down and force them to make plays in small chunks rather than big chunks. And offensively, we've got to keep the ball and ball control, and they've got a very, very solid defense as well, and they're a pretty complete team. So it's going to take all of our 40 guys on the field and on the sidelines to make a great effort and pull off the win on Friday.
Yeah, good luck with that on Friday. With the playoffs coming up, Badger North and Badger South, who should we be watching?
Certainly there are a number of strong teams on both sides of the Badger. I'd certainly say in the north it's Wanakee and Mount Horeb and DeForest and Reedsburg will certainly be in the mix in Division III. They're always dangerous when they play in the Badger North and then drop to Division III and play teams their own size, which they don't always see during the school year. And over on the south side, certainly Monona Grove as defending champs will be a team to watch. Milton's had an outstanding year with Coach O'Leary down there as a co-champ, and then Oregon I would certainly expect to have a strong run in the postseason after getting some experience last year.
Yeah, a lot of good teams out there.
Lots of good teams.
Yeah. So the off-season coming up, what does that look like for Sauk Prairie Eagle?
Well, it'll be the first off-season that I've had there, but we really encourage our kids to be multi-sport athletes, and we've got a number of kids wrestling and playing basketball, and so we want to be successful in those competitions as well. And then anybody who's not out for another sport, we want them in the weight room, about 3 or 4 times a week, and it's really important to be a well-rounded athlete, but we also want to focus on being a great student athlete as well. So we expect their progress in the classroom to be just as strong as their progress on the field.
That sounds great. Well, thanks for taking a few minutes again, Scott, and good luck this Friday to you and your Eagles.
Great. Thank you very much. Great to be here.
Welcome back to the Sports News. We turn our conversation next to Middleton High School swimming with head coach Lauren Sobotka. Lauren, thanks for stopping by and chatting with us today.
Thanks for having me.
So let's start with the good stuff. What's most impressive about your team and this season?
I think this year we've got a really impressive group of freshmen this year. Almost half of our team is freshmen, so that's been a really exciting thing to help them develop and become a part of the team, and they've really carried the weight of our team this year in a different way than we've ever had before. So that's been really exciting to see, and I think our seniors have really stepped up. The senior leadership is another really impressive thing, and I think that they're probably some of the best leaders that we've had since I've been coaching. So.
That's got to be great to feel that way as a coach.
It is.
Yeah. So on to the other end of that question, where do you see room for growth?
I think, well, we have a lot of really good leadership. I think the youth comes out sometimes, so we still have some maturing to do. There's certainly some personal growth that has to happen on the part of some of our girls, just to become a little bit more poised, more consistently. So.
I love that, raising well-rounded athletes.
Yeah.
So you mentioned you have a pretty impressive group of freshmen, and a few of them are sisters of the class of 2013, and they went undefeated in the conference for 4 seasons. Mm-hmm. What similarities and differences are you seeing?
I see a lot of similarities. That class of 2013, they were a really tight-knit group of girls. They were really good friends, and because of that, they were swimming for each other more than for themselves, which I think led to a lot of that success. So I see that same thing in the sisters. They're really good friends, they're a tight-knit group, and they rely on one another, which helps them focus on the team rather than themselves. Differences, they swim different strokes, different events, and I think this group comes in at a higher level maybe than their sisters did, so it'll be exciting to see where they are 4 years from now.
And you swam for Middleton from 1997 to 2000. What does it mean to be coaching finally?
Yeah, that program shaped me into the person that I am. It made me love the sport. It made me really appreciate the sport in a different way. And to be back coaching it now, it's very personal to me. It's a huge part of my life. And so it's just a special thing that I've been able to do for so long, and hopefully will for a few more years.
Just about 30 seconds left for us. What are your thoughts on the upcoming Big 8 Conference Championship meet?
It's going to be a really exciting meet. I think this is the most talent that the conference has seen in a really long time. There's a huge depth of talent. So I think that for us, it's going to be the closest race that we've ever had, points-wise. So it'll be really exciting.
All righty. Well, thanks, Lauren. Again, this is head coach from Middleton High School swim team. We'll be right back with more sports news right after this. Next in sports news, we'll take a look at the McFarland High School boys and girls cross country teams. And with me, I have two of their coaches, Bruce and Andrew. Thanks for joining us today, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
You bet. Let's start it with the good stuff. Give us a little highlight of your season. How's it been going?
Well, so far we've had a really nice season. We had a tremendous season a year ago. We weren't quite so sure how things would work out. The girls were second last year and the boys were sixth at state. We lost some great seniors, but right now we seem to be rolling pretty well.
All right. And you wanted to give a shout out to some of your outstanding runners as well.
Well, on the boys' side, we have Christopher Ponke, who's leading the way for the guys, running very strong, running very fast. And then on the girls' side, Brooke Lonegro. They both put in very good miles this summer and have been running very well for us.
And when we were chatting before the cameras were rolling, you were talking about the importance of the seniors and how they sort of set the tone for the team. Go ahead and talk to that a little bit.
Well, first of all, we have a lot of seniors on the varsity team. In the girls' case, we have Jennifer Seeliger, who's running unbelievably well. Maddie Loss is running really well. And it turns out we have a couple of girls who really stepped up big time, Ashley Hillebrand and Brittany Broom. And I guess, Andrew, you can talk about some of the boys.
And then on the boys' side, we're very senior heavy as well, too, with Peter Ale, Brandon Haas, Marcos Kinder, and Dietrich Swear leading the way. But also as well, Eric Seeliger is helping out big time. Casey Paulson as well, just leading the younger classmen, and Paul Bernhagen.
Yeah, and with the girls, we have a girl who's out for the first time, Heidi Hartman, and it turns out we have another girl who's just, I kind of call she barks a little bit. It's Madison Whiting. She kind of sets the tone with some of the younger kids. And Maddie Hess, who's a hockey player, who's also running as well. So we just got a really nice group of kids, and as I say, they make the personality of the team kind of come out.
Yeah. Well, let's share the love a little bit and talk about some of your surprising underclassmen. They've been performing as well.
On the guys' side, we have Chris's younger brother, Andrew Ponke, who's a freshman, just running very well for us. He's the only underclassman on varsity right now. And then we also have Sam Marisi Wheeler, who's been running well. And then a whole slew of guys just running very well. And we can credit that to the middle school program, who have huge numbers for us. And we want to thank Jennifer Jefferson and Emily Davenport for just making that program very, very much how it is and creating a good atmosphere for that.
There's like 65 kids out in the middle school program. So
puts you in a good place for the years coming up ahead. We're about out of time, guys. What you got left on the schedule for this season?
Well, we got the conference this Thursday at Whitewater, and then we're going to have sectionals at Monroe, and then the state will be on Halloween.
Alrighty. Well, good luck to you and your runners. Thanks for joining us today. We'll be right back with more sports news. Welcome back to the Sports News. Joining us next from Madison Memorial is head football coach Adam Smith. Nice to see you again, Adam.
Hey, thanks for having us again.
You bet. So with the season winding down, how do you see the Big Eight concluding? It's kind of a log jam up there, isn't it?
It is, and that's great parity for our conference, and it's also great competition, and it means every week is a dog fight, as we say, and we know we're going to get everybody's best. So it's what we kind of expected, and we're going out and playing hard, and we have another tough one against Verona this Friday.
Yeah, as you like to say, you guys have been climbing that mountain one game at a time. So speaking of Verona this weekend, what can we look for?
Well, they're a tough opponent. It's going to be their senior night, so they're going to be emotional. Their final regular season home game there, and we just went through that. So we're hoping to be able to take advantage of that, and understanding how they might be feeling and kind of maybe using that to our advantage. And they're a tough team. They've been rolling, and their offense is tricky, and we have to be sound. And our defense has been playing lights out. So I know our defensive coordinator Brad Murphy will have them going. And offensively, we just have to protect the football. And if we do that, I think we're going to be all right.
You have a pretty diverse team, age-wise, don't you? So who have been your key contributors?
Our seniors have led the way, and we don't have a big senior group, but what we have has been very good with our quarterback, Emmett Enright, and running back and linebacker Jack Andringa, and defensive end and running back Jason Weah, and on the offensive line John Adam and Jack Peterson just leading the way and doing a great job. Also with wide receiver Alex Battaglia. They're our core seniors and they've been our core leaders, and other contributors from our juniors and Jake Ferguson and Hunter Peters and Will Jessup have been doing a fantastic job for us and continuing to lead us.
Hate to leave anybody out.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard though. So moving on, how do you see the seed process playing out? Who do you see as working for?
I have no idea. We've talked about it a little bit, and I've really kind of tried to shut it down because we still have regular season ball game to play and a very tough opponent in Verona, and that's what we have to be thinking about. We'll have that meeting, we'll talk about it when it's necessary, but also being my first year, I really don't know. I don't know who's gonna be brought into our section, and who we'll have to go through. But regardless, it's gonna be like we say, it's gonna be a dogfight. There's gonna be great matchups, and it's gonna be tough, and we're gonna have to play really good ball in order to make it through.
Yeah, back to what you say, just one game at a time.
That's right.
So with the playoffs coming, how are your preparations changing?
We're trying to keep in our same routine. We are tweaking things from week to week because we are a new staff, and we're thinking of, just how we're doing things. We're very cognizant and mindful of the way we're doing things and asking questions and seeing if ways we can be better. And so we're trying to get a little bit less hitting now that we're later on in the season and try not to beat our guys up so much, but obviously it's football, it's a collision sport, you need to hit a little bit. So there's that fine line that we have to walk, and as it's getting colder, that also, it hurts a little bit more when you get hit when it's cold. So just having those conversations and how we can tweak practices, and maybe it's more meeting time, maybe it's more film time, more chalk talk, more walkthroughs, a lot more teaching, but our things are pretty much set in place. So what we're doing now is we're just trying to keep in a routine and keep the guys, thinking about, not having to think about actually what's coming up next, because they already know, and it's a routine. So
yeah, good plan. So speaking of it being a collision sport, before we let you go, the safety concerns of football have definitely been in the media. It's been out there. I'm just curious what your thoughts are on it and the sport of football.
Well, I think it couldn't be in a better place, to be honest. The collision or the concussion issue is a very hot topic, and it's something that our youth organization and the league that we're in, and our trainers and doctors and their administration, we've all been working together and being more proactive in how we do things practice-wise, how we're teaching, being more communicative with sending guys to the trainer and erring on the side of caution. And in most cases, I've done some research on this, 62% of all injuries in football happen in practice. So us as a staff, we're talking about how we can change, how we can tweak practices so that we're not having these big time collisions where people are getting hurt. And also concussion things, it's in other sports too, and that's what I'd like to see come to light, because there's concussions in soccer and in hockey and other popular sports, basketball. In fact, girls basketball, they're 48% more likely to have a concussion than boys basketball. Well, why is that? And why isn't that brought to light as well? It's just not a football thing. It's, there's rugby, there's lacrosse, there's lots of sports where we need to be safe and need to be having great teaching, fundamentals and techniques, and learning and teaching how to move in space.
Yeah.
And I think that's the big thing. And
a lot of good points there, Adam.
Yeah.
Well, we've got to let you go. Thanks for stopping in today, chatting with us. Good luck to you and your Spartans this Friday, and we'll see you this Friday as we're covering that game.
Absolutely, can't wait. Go Spartans.
Yes. All right, we'll be right back with more sports news right after this. And that's it for the sports news. Thanks to all of our guests, and thank you for tuning in. Please tune in all week long. We'll see you next time on the CW 57.